What the heck? You're on my YouTube channel watching Hearthfire 4 video? I cannot believe it, but I welcome you here anyways. We're gonna play a little bit more Kalterkrieg. Kalterkrieg is Canada. Let us continue on from where we last left off. So we are expanding our wonderful foreign office when we've decided that we don't like Germany. That's basically it. We don't like Germany. We are trying to contain them, as well as putting a ton of cash into our allies in Europe. We'll see how that goes. So, aside from that, start crown negotiations. This hasn't actually happened yet. I don't think we got the pop-up for it, but we'll see. The inauguration of the national flag. On September 5th, 1935, an order in council was passed declaring the red ensign to be Canada's national flag, pending a decision of the Parliament of Canada. Such a decision was made well over a decade later, after a long and vigorous parliamentary debate and careful committee considered and recommendations. As a result of the decision by the Canadian Parliament and on the advice of the government of Canada, His Majesty, our beloved King, was pleased to issue a proclamation that the flag we are about to raise today should be the flag of Canada. So at noon today in the 8th month of our 82nd year as a confederation, our new flag will fly for the first time in the skies of Canada and in places overseas where Canadians serve. If our nation, by God's grace, ensures 1,000 years, this day will always be remembered as a milestone in Canada's national progress. God bless our flag. God bless Canada. So you have a brand new flag. We got a little bit more popularity also for the Liberals, which is nice. One kind of interesting thing, I know I've kind of talked a little bit more about the flag debate than I maybe should have at this point, is that it was 1964, by the way, not 1965, like I said before. 1964, one of the issues with changing the flag was that people were saying that it would be disrespectful for the troops that had died in World War I, World War II, who served under the red ensign. Now, I'd have to imagine such a debate in 1948, which, if I'm not incorrect on this, the war ended last year. So I'm surprised that they would change the flag so quickly without having even more debate about it. If anything, the debate actually should have been like an entire year, but we'll get past that. King Edward VIII and Prime Minister Anthony Eden has arrived in Canada today, traveling back from the United Kingdom. After the restoration of the United Kingdom, Edward and Eden have been spending much of their time restoring order and stability to Britain. Now, however, they have arrived to discuss the future of Canada and Canada's request for patriation. As Canada and the United Kingdom's relationship have transformed dramatically, many were expecting for the moment to come. Still, negotiations are up in the air as demands and concessions may have to be met by both the British and provincial governments to ensure a neat and tidy partition occurs. Hopefully, however, no party will get in the way of a clean partition process. The fact that negotiations are mostly being held in secrecy at this point should hopefully not backfire on us either. I'm sure nothing bad could possibly happen. Okay, so you want to send more troops to Hawaii. Again, now we're at 21.9%. You are at 24% in total. You are at 27, 29-ish%. So we are second most powerful in Hawaii. And notably, again, the British Consulate in Hawaii is the most powerful faction. It's not the most powerful group of factions, but we are the most powerful individual group. The king meets with the British. Prime Minister Mackenzie King. Oh, it's Mackenzie King, not the British. I was like, Edward VIII is meeting with the British? Oh, I'm a little surprised by that. Prime Minister Mackenzie King held his first meeting today with a British delegation, which included King Edward VIII and British Prime Minister Anthony Eden. The meeting was not publicized at all and held in a private room in Mackenzie's residence, as Canada's patriation has not yet been announced to the public, or even to the provincial governments. Of course, assumptions can be made by the British delegation being signed in Ottawa, but it is the Prime Minister's hope to make things go as smoothly as possible. Hopefully, they will not make any unreasonable... What demands, okay, could the British possibly impose on us? Here's the thing. Earl Long's been re-elected in the United States. Status quo. There will not be a single second on God's green earth will I give the British anything that they want after so much Canadian lives were spilt liberating the home isles. Like, come on now. King announces constitutional negotiations. Prime Minister Mackenzie King has publicly announced his government's intention on engaging in constitutional negotiations with the United Kingdom. He has also announced that the constitutional negotiations have already been started, confirming rumors that King Edward VIII and British Prime Minister Anthony Eden were in Ottawa to proceed with negotiations. Based on the idea of patriation, the British government will no longer have the ability to change the Canadian Constitution if the negotiations are successful. The news has been met with widespread support from nearly all Canadians, beside the exiles still left in the country, and the most die-hard monarchists. There is little doubt that the Liberal government will have trouble negotiating and changes with the British delegation. We have the support of the people. Of course we do. Canadians love us. Anything else we need? You know, let's put like 2 more on you, 1 more on you. And I think aside from that, we're looking pretty good. Do I need airborne divisions? Honestly, no. So you know what? My potential airborne troops who are not... No, there's one in here. Where are you? It's got the little... There he is. Okay. We'll switch you out to be a regular infantry. And then for you on this side of the pond, I'm also going to switch you. You know what? You can become another infantry division. We'll get that going. How many rifles do we produce per day? Let's go look at our production here, which is this one. 13.85, which is actually really bad. And China is now in civil war. So what we want to do, of course, in China is we do want to support the Guangzhou government against the Beiyang government. We need a win. We need a win for our forces, for Canada, for the Accord, for the Entente, for liberty and democracy in the world. And I do not want to allow the Germans to have an ally in China. NATO approved. At last, a scheme by the North American Trade Organization has been passed through Parliament. Despite the efforts of some critics, arguing Canada stands strongest alone, most of our political sphere has united behind this proposal. Some wish to see total Canadian dominance, other a generous dispersion of economic aid from Ottawa. All, however, are curious as to what form the future might bring. Over the coming weeks, delegates from 4 nations will gather the right regulations and protocols for the group, with each seeking to achieve their own objectives. They will chart the continent's economic flow for many decades to come. So we're not in the Entente, not in the Entente, we're not in the NATO yet. But now that we have started the NATO process, let's have a diplomatic mission to the Pacific states. They are currently have political ties to us. But if we can kind of link them more and more into our system of governance, I'd be happy. 21. I guess we're mostly competing with the Americans at this point, right? That's how I kind of see this, but I don't know. I guess Japan probably also has this event programmed to them. Really, I think the only thing the Japanese can actually do is increase government support for the bureaucracy. This doesn't even do anything at all. Foreign ministry missions. Okay. But we won't worry about that too much. I'm not worried about Japan too much. I mean, if it goes, even if the Hawaii goes pro-American, that's probably fine for us. 1948 Vancouver Summit. Great diplomatic shift. Stability goes up, which would be nice. One of the following must be true. The bill is passed, the bill has failed. Can the bill fail? What do I have to do to get the bill to fail? Maybe you don't have enough votes? But I mean, the Liberals have so much support. I don't see how the bill could possibly even fail in the first place. The nature of NATO. The organization of NATO, while it may seem simple, has a surprising level of thought and complexity which went into its planning. For one thing, Canada's international alliance network will never be permitted to enter it. It is to be restricted to Canada herself and the successionist states she supports in the South. The Pacific States of America are to be the largest contributor, but the Great Lakes government and the Commonwealth of New England have their own economies, not to be disregarded lightly. Each member has fully equal say in the structure and systems NATO employs, theoretically, but in reality, Canada is expected to dominate negotiations. We shall have to see which occurs, but there can only happen after a Vancouver summit that will establish much of NATO's policies. Well, we're going to be doing that right now, 26 days. 1948 Vancouver summit. It would be kind of funny, too, if you did, if you waited long enough and this would be 1949. Not that it would, okay, it's not like funny, haha, but you know what I mean, right? Do the 48 Vancouver summit in 1949. And I don't believe these are not, I don't know, what do you call it? It's not like a float point. These aren't dynamic. I don't believe, I do not believe that national spirits or national focuses are dynamic in a way that some events are, where you can, depending on who's prime minister, for example, will just change what name is in there for the event. I don't believe that works here, but I don't know. American successors promote anti-Union state pact. On the first day of the conference, all 3 American successor states made it clear that their primary objective in Vancouver was the renewal of economic health, but especially to the detriment of the forwarding powerful Union state. An initial deal proposed was a complete severance of all economic ties, but was later watered down somewhat to be a more flexible proposal. Any trade deal offered to the Union State by Canada must first be offered to each of its successors. If multiple successors accepted, a bidding war would begin. Not a single Canadian dollar can pass the border without us declining it first. Obviously, no successor would want to negotiate with the government of New Orleans, so we don't have a clause for that eventuality. Hopefully nothing bad will occur from that. Next up, Italy has not accepted the Montenegro. Italy, I want to give you free stuff, and yet they say no. Okay, let's build up naval-based civilian factories. Civilian factory, military factory. Let's fund civilian infrastructure in Portugal. Canada proposes a joint projects committee. In order for NATO to accomplish the greater goals of construction within its territory, such as the recent planning of the St. Lawrence Seaway to facilitate the passage of ships, Canada suggests a joint project committee be established with 2 delegates from each nation. It can approve projects suggested by any country within NATO and give support to their completion. Whether it's money, construction materials, or some form of support, they'll make all the world impressed by NATO's achievements, provided, of course, that said achievements are in the best interest of every member. Can we do anything now with you? Can I send you more guns? Yes, but I don't actually have guns, which does make that a little bit more complicated. So for our research, let's go, because you're 51 tech, a little too expensive. Can't get you, because we need guided missiles. And we get that here. We can take you. We can get the coronation. We get a little bonus as well. As a country with a large economy, engaging in a great deal of trade, it's probably surprising that the Pacific states should want to create a free trade zone among NATO members. Nonetheless, it's a big step to take with an idea that was nothing but a dream of a few parliamentarians a short while ago. In light of that fact, it has been decided that this plan should be tabled until all countries feel ready to calibrate their economies to this new suggestion. It has, however, been set forth as a goal of NATO to create that at some point. Perhaps once all the other concerns have been dealt with and the world is stabilized to Ottawa's liking. Now we're going to be getting to the first dispute, which I don't like because I don't want to have to deal with disputes. Surprisingly, the Summit's first direct conflict was not among the successor states. Rather, it was the Commonwealth of New England and Canada who was clashed. While not strictly a trade issue, the problems of competing fishing interests have made relationships cool. Both countries send their fishing boats to shoals off of the coast of the Maritimes, with New England justifying this with their greater population, which has to be fed. Canadian diplomats have retorted that, surely a country with such resources can find alternative methods. Some possible solutions have been proposed, ensuring that the purely domestic consumption of New England caught fish, extending the Canadian sovereign waters, or creating a new concept, an exclusive economic zone. In the first draft, held by only... Wait, okay, let me read that again. An exclusive economic zone in first drafts held by only Canada, but later established as a potential global concept, in which nations within a certain distance of an area are able to hold their rights against any other without dominion there. The idea, though formalizing what has been in part of some countries' policies, is too radical to succeed right now in a world of less than harmonious national feelings. The issue has ultimately been tabled, canned, as one newspaper quipped, until there can be global agreement on the issue. And I'm presuming something like that would eventually get added to the Congress of Nations, whenever this actually gets added into the mod. Canada proposes joint foreign policy objectives. As the conference is drawing to a close, Canada has proposed what seems to be her flagship objective for the summit, a joint foreign policy initiative, to be carried out without reservations by all members. While support for this is certainly widespread, the countries agreed that an impartial Special Council of NATO Objectives is to be established. This will oversee the authorization of and planning for any specific policies that will be taken. An important point is that a goal pursued by one country does not necessarily become a NATO objective. All countries need to agree in order for it to be pursued. Countries hostile to NATO members, while showing no signs of changing their policies, have begun to reconsider the situation with this new alliance. This isn't the accord, but it is still worth consideration. Now again, the accord doesn't exist yet, because we need to ratify that, but we now have we established NATO? Hey, there we go. So Pacific states now have economic ties, so that's going to put them up to level 2. Canada, New England Great Lakes and Pacific States have all decided to become members of NATO. Maybe eventually we can ratify this to more countries within the Americas, but we'll have to kind of see. You know, like Cuba in the Entente, they're in North America, so I don't see why they wouldn't be allowed into NATO. Panama is arguably in North America. Jamaica is in North America. Bahamas. I feel like we might want to expand this at some point, though, in the future. Princess Elizabeth closes the NATO conference. At last, with all the deals made and goals established, relations written and plans finalized, the Vancouver summit is at an end. NATO has been established and ratified by all member nations. The North American Trade Organization can now begin to create greater prosperity throughout the attending countries. With great pomp, Princess Elizabeth has closed out the conference, including with a speech that many attending greatly appreciating, pledging her whole life to the service of our great imperial family. It was felt to be a resonant statement at a time when the great imperial family faced global struggles. Now, I'm not too sure New England, Great Lakes, and the Pacific States are really too happy about being called part of the imperial family. But we'll see how that goes. And hey, Pacific States are now in our research agreement. Is there a way... Is that in here? Okay, Accord Research. Australasia, Canada... Okay, so it's basically everyone who's in the Entente. Plus now... Plus now the Pacific States. I think. They're not listed in there, but... Okay. North American Trade Organization has been formed. That will now give us a beautiful 20-point swing. Now, it's not doing too much because, you know, Germany still has military spending, economic power. They still are on top of a lot of things that we're not on top of. But we're just trying to slow down the growth of Germany. Can I do anything with you yet? No, you don't align to our geopolitical goals, but that should change eventually, because I know when we played Germany, we weren't able to do it immediately. But we can do it later. Hey, Madagascar has risen up. That's going to give us another wonderful 10 points. Now, I don't know if there's anything we can do. Hey, look at this. Got a new little screen here. Put more points into you. Is there anything I can do regarding Madagascar? Not that I can see. Okay, the North American Trade Organization. Current issue is none. Reduction of coal tariffs. CUA. So most of these had to happen after 1950. It had to happen over 1954. You need Venezuelan oil. Well, or we can begin to invest in the Great Lakes. Let's throw that in here. And part of the nation's mission is to invest in American nations that are not as rich as those in the North. As such, it proposed that the Great Lakes government receive additional economic aid. The Great Lakes government economic level is far below what it ought to be, and that others should do what they can to change this. I will vote yes. Presumably, the other members can vote. Okay, all four have voted in favor. It'd be so fucking funny if the Great Lakes opposed, but like, you know, we want to be raised up by our own bootstraps. We don't need any Canadian, no Californian, no New Yorker bootstraps. Pure old, not even Chicago, Milwaukee. Pure Milwaukee bootstraps. Anyways. You're all 52 techs. You're on your way. 48, let's go for the HQ bonus. Because the HQ is still pretty good. Get mechanized up a little bit more. You can probably cut you down by 1 and by 1. I think you're looking good. Main battle tank now can upgrade as well. Probably take you down to 2. Mechanized infantry are pretty good, so I do want those. And then your 1950. Light tanks we're not even building, so we're not going to worry about researching those. And what other divisions are already in here? Engineers, recon, logistics. This is just empty, and I don't know why. So we probably want to upgrade, you know, let's say logistics. Which is not signal. Logistics is... you. Okay. There's less fuel usage, less supply usage. Sounds good to me. We'll get that going. Hey, can I send you any troops? Like, what are the numbers here? 24 to 103. No idea about the northern government, unfortunately. Maklik and Zhejiang are still, unfortunately, at war. Investment. Modifies NATO agreement. So do we not pass anything? Like, it just happens. Which, I mean, is good. You know, I appreciate that we don't actually spend any money on this. So they just get consumer goods minus 5%. Like, how many factions they have? 24 is actually really fucking nice for such a small country. As the post-war situation forms, a geopolitical realignment is taking shape. Where there was once syndicalist powers in Europe, free democracies have once again taken their place. However, the German Empire, our former ally in the war, is also trying to reassert its hegemony over the world. It is a necessity that all free countries oppose German dominance in an effort to preserve a fair world for all. Thus, voices propose the need for an accord to unite the free democratic countries of the world that are getting louder. We have prevented the syndicalist attempt at world hegemony. We must now prevent the German attempt as well. Okay. Montgomery Plan expands to include aligned countries. Syria has descended into civil war. And again, this is a weird one, right? Because it's the socialist against the national populist. Who... I don't know who you support. This is the same thing I had with the Germany campaign as well. I don't know who... like, Russia probably supports you. Maybe we would support the socialists? I mean, it's a little bit of a weird thing to do, but they're probably anti-Germany, so I guess that makes some sense. But that's neither here nor there. Honestly, it's not anywhere. So don't worry about it. But I will say it's going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you enjoyed, thumbs up. Did not enjoy, thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe. And goodbye.